let's talk about YAML. So YAML is not necessarily a Ruby thing, but it's something that's used by Ruby developers when writing Ruby programs a lot. And as we're going to see, Rails also uses YAML. So what is YAML? YAML stands for YAML ain't a markup language, or it stands for yet another markup language. But basically, it's a markup language. So if you're familiar with something like XML, YAML is similar to that. And YAML is a special text-based markup language that was specially designed primarily as a data serialization format that's readable by humans. So you have a program that maybe has some results that it achieved, and you could serialize that output to memory or to a file, and then come back later on and deserialize it. So basically, almost like decrypt it or deserialize it, decipher it back into your program and use it. And YAML, the format that it's designed with, makes it that it's easily achievable, both serialization and deserialization. Now, most of Ruby language that's available is available right away without explicit inclusion, but some less used parts, for example, YAML, need to be specifically included because they're not automatically loaded. And if you think about it, it sort of makes sense. The parts that you're always going to use are there for you to use right away, but the parts that are not used that frequently, you actually have to include with a require, as we're going to see, to be able to use them. So YAML is one of those parts. So let's see an example of how you would use YAML. For example, you have a butterfly class. You require the YAML, and you create a bunch of butterflies, and then you could say, create me an array with 2 butterflies in it, and take that array and convert that to YAML. So now you have YAML data. So maybe somewhere in memory you have this YAML data, and then you could load that YAML data back into your program to give you the variable called butterflies, and then you could pretty print those butterflies. So pretty print actually also has nothing to do with YAML, but it's a module that you could include, just called pp, and then you could just do pp butterflies or pp anything in your program. So it's for pretty print. It's not used all the time, so it's sort of like an extra thing, but so you have to require it explicitly. Now, a more useful example of YAML is actually to take the YAML data and save it off to a file. So again, you would require the YAML, you would create the butterflies, and then in this case you write it out to a butterflies.yml YAML file. Again, it's exactly the same. You convert the data to YAML, and then you write it out to this file. And then maybe somewhere else you say YAML load file, and then you pass in the path to a file, which in this case happens to be in the same directory as your executing program, and you initialize a butterflies variable. And just to show you that it's an actual variable ready to go, you could do butterflies dot index 1, which is the second one that you created, that color will give you back blue. And to see what the YAML file looks like, it looks something like this. So it has funky stuff like exclamation points and paths to different objects that's useful for program that's going to deserialize it, but it's also readable by humans. So you could see there's a color attribute that has a certain value, and wing size and so on. So it has this dual functionality that it's readable by humans, but it's also easily readable and managed by programs, by executing code.